Let's start off with your paper division. We know that it makes up a large chunk of the business and the earnings. We know that this is where you've actually seen a bit of pressure coming to the fore. Tell us about the competitive space in which you operate when it comes to paper.
Well, our paper business comprises corrugated packaging, containerboard production, which is used to make corrugated packaging, and also waste paper, which is used to make the containerboard. I think the prospects and the market over the past 6 months has been varied in the different sectors. In the corrugated packaging sector, we haven't seen growth over the prior year to any large extent, although we have managed to maintain a steady sales number for the period. Having said that, in the containerboard side, we have seen a drop in demand, especially from the second quarter of this year. And that is to a large extent driven by the rand strength and imports or direct imports of competitive products. And to some extent, there have been indirect imports of some of our customers' products, which don't require packaging then locally.
I ask you this because, I mean, it's quite fascinating to note that packaging is closely linked to the real economy and the actual growth that we experience on the ground. Is that the right assumption?
I think that would be a fair assumption.
Okay, well, relatively speaking, when you look at the local currency and you're talking about cheap imports, is that the main competition that you're dealing with right now, is the cheap import space within the paper business?
Look, I mean, there's two things there. One is the competition that exists as a result of the rand, but there is generally, I think, a fair amount of uncertainty amongst consumers, and that perhaps is impacting also on the demand in our products, and has done over the past 6 months.
Let's take a look at plastics, because that's doing quite well. And just looking at the geographies in which you operate, mostly sub-Saharan Africa, you're looking at Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Namibia, and of course South Africa. Tell us about the play between those regions.
Well, basically South Africa is a predominant contributor to our revenue and also our profit. I mean, the businesses we have currently in Namibia, Mozambique and Zimbabwe are relatively small in the broader context of our overall business. On the other hand, we do export a fair amount of product into sub-Saharan African countries, and we have done for the past 20 to 25 years, and we've continued to do so. Of course, it is a bit more challenging with the strong rand in that regard, but we have established quite a strong brand in those areas with our products, and we'll continue to exploit those markets in the future.
You're looking at a profit margin of around 12.5%, and some investors out there say that's quite a fair range that you're sitting in. Is there room to grow this further?
I think there is room, obviously, to grow our business. You know, you've got the sectors that we focused on in corrugated packaging, for example, have been in the past agricultural products and specifically fruit exporters. And we've aligned with fruit exporters that have grown strong brands overseas, and they've done quite well over the past 10 years in South Africa. Of course, they are under some pressure at the moment given the strong rand, but we do believe there's still room for growth in those areas.
Well, taking a look at Mpact, and of course it used to be part of Mondi, we haven't heard any news on the dividends, and I'm sure that the markets would like to know a little bit more about dividend policies going forward.
Okay, we didn't declare a dividend this particular time, but our dividend policy is one of 3 times cover over the cycle. And so we would anticipate at the end of the full year that we would address the dividend in the context of our policy.